When I started my Nostradamus research 3 weeks ago, my curiosity about Nostradamus was mostly on how he got his fame and why he got it. Based on the few quatrains widely considered as his best, I saw no reason for people to consider him a great prophet. However, my perceptions changed when I started to find clue after clue of historical events that changed the world. Hundreds of millions have read the Book of Prophecy. However, no one seems to really understand the messages. I know it's hard for people to accept my interpretation of the quatrains, but I know eventually more researchers will follow and more messages will be solved. The precise and clear messages I found in some quatrains led me to quatrain clusters, which is related messages about related events. These findings eventually led me to the conclusion that Century 1 contains urgent messages about wars, while Century 2 has many chilly doomsday prophecies. Both were covered in my book, The Future According to Nostradamus, and the videos I published. However, although I found almost all major wars in Century 1, there is an important war missing. This war should definitely be there, as it is a war that has been ongoing for the last 66 years. With Seoul being identified as a possible epic center in the Doomsday Quatrain, how can Nostradamus miss it? It turns out that Nostradamus did not miss it. I missed it. Quatrain 181, quote, "9 will be set apart from the human flock, separated from judgment and advice. Their fate is to be divided as they depart. K, THL, dead, banished and scattered." This one should be easy to spot. I don't know how I could have missed it. Everyone knows that the North Koreans were locked in the north part of the Korean peninsula. They have been set apart from the rest of humanity for the last 65 years. But very few people know North Korea is made up of 9 provinces. That is why 9 was mentioned in the quatrain. Obviously, they have no freedom and are separated from judgment and advice. Their fate was decided when the line was drawn on the 38th parallel north on June 25, 1950. They departed from the south half of the country and the rest of the world. All that is pretty easy to understand, but what is KTHL? If you think Nostradamus can pronounce Kim Jong-un, or his father Kim Jong-il, or his grandfather Kim Il-sung, you are mistaken. Remember, he called Napoleon Pau Ne Loron. Since I am 100% sure this quatrain is about North Korea, and I believe Nostradamus sometimes groups related quatrains together, I decided to dig a bit further. And that is when I found my second mistake. For that, I have to offer my sincere apology to President Bush. We read in Quatrain 178, quote, "To an old leader will be born an idiot heir, weak both in knowledge and in war, that the leader of France is feared by his sister. Battlefields divided conceded to the soldiers." I thought Quatrain 178 was about President Bush 41 and 43 because President 43 started the war with Iraq, which was unpopular and strongly objected by France. However, when I found the quatrain about the Korean War at 181, I realized that 178 is about North Korea. Both Kim Jong-un and his father Kim Jong-il inherited their power from their dads. So this can be either one. But Kim Jong-il did not start any war, while Kim Jong-il's father Kim Il-sung did not get power through his father. So this must mean the current leader, Kim Jong-un, is likely to start new conflicts. While we can't tell why France is mentioned here, we do know France and Estonia are the only two EU countries that still do not recognize North Korea. The last sentence describes the outcome of the conflict. Since the first two lines is about the North Korean leader, the fourth line should be about what happens with reference to Kim Jong-un. Battlefield divided is another quote that links this quatrain to Korea conflicts. Although you can call battle divided to any battlefield, but do you know any other battlefields divided in a straight line like the 38th parallel north? Conceded to the soldiers, I believe, means the outcome of the war is decided when soldiers either defect to the south or Kim Jong-un lost in a military coup. But that does not mean it ended without some serious fight. I found another quatrain possibly about the conflict. Quatrain 2:17, quote, "The field of the temple of the Vestal Virgin, not far from Elne and the Pyrenees Mountains. The great tube is hidden in the trunk. To the north, rivers overflown and vines battered." I believe this quatrain describes a coming conflict between North and South Korea. The virgin on line 1 is South Korea's current president, Park Geun-hye. Her father, former President Park Chung-hee, was assassinated in 1979, while her mother was assassinated 2 months earlier in 1979. She was the first female Korean president, and she never married. Korea has the mountainous north and the flat south. Seoul is only 35 miles to the border with the north. Does Pyrenees sound like Pyongyang to you? Actually, if you Google search Pai, another South Korean city, Pyeongchang will also show up. That is a city that will host the 2018 Winter Olympics. Did Nostradamus intentionally use the word Pyrenees to give us the timing of the conflict? I personally think this quatrain warns about a possible attack with the weapon concealed. Will the Great Tube be some kind of nuclear weapon? I don't know, but I sure hope not. The fourth line mentions north rivers overflown and vines battered. Seoul is on the Han River, which flows from the north to the south. Is this a depiction of the force coming from the north? As for the timing of this conflict, I think it will be soon, as President Park already was impeached and most likely won't be in office too long. The next Winter Olympic is only 1 year away, so escalation of tensions should already be in the works. Knowing the future is not impossible, as we can see proof of that in Nostradamus' Book of Prophecy. However, decoding the messages is harder than we think. However, we are one step closer to unveiling the future with one quatrain decoded. This is Ken Peters. Thank you for watching.